Hi, welcome to the ZP Vlog and Podcast. We like to do a vlog and podcast once a week, and it's really just a sort of wrap up from the news from ZP for this week. So today is the 25th of May 2024, and we're just going to take a look back at things that we've been up to and things that we've done this week. Again, I apologise, it is quite heavy on food sense, but food sense really is kind of interweaved with a lot of what we're doing at ZP at the moment. We are definitely extremely interested in the whole idea of making measurements and all those measurements making their way up to the cloud. So we have been busy testing, various kind of spicy products, but at the same time, we have still been keeping kind of to our roots as well and doing webinars for our academic colleagues. So we did do two pretty intense and well received and well attended webinars this week where we actually talked about the problem in academia. And I think the problem in academia is that there's what we call technology readiness level number 3. So you've got a technology readiness level number 1, 2, 3, and it all goes all the way up to 9. Now, this was not invented by ZP. This was invented by NASA. And NASA wanted a sort of shorthand way of being able to say, if something's just in its ideation stage, then it's technology readiness level number 1. And if it's fully mature and deployed, then that's technology readiness level number 9. Now, I think that a lot of academic papers actually finish off at technology readiness level number 3, especially these biosensor papers. Somebody will make a biosensor, test a biosensor, it'll be done on lab instruments in a lab environment. That's, strictly speaking, technology readiness level number 3. But realistically, I think every academic and anyone really doing biosensor work really wants their technology on the market because it's by nature a very practical science. We're not doing social science here. We're not doing art history. We're doing biosensor development. And so by its very nature, I think that means that people who tend towards that want to get their technology to be impactful. So we did some webinars around it. And at ZP, we said, look, we're all looking at this chasm between academia and industry as this chasm, or it's colloquially called the valley of death. And actually at ZP, we generally have a strategy for not trying to cross the valley of death, but actually to close the gap. And I definitely think that the SenseIt platform is, at least for people trying to do in vitro diagnostics or point of need, point of care type assays, then the SenseIt platform really does lend itself to that. I say that because then I have to kind of throw in that apology and says, well, I'm sorry that we do so much releases these days on measuring the spiciness of things like hot sauce that comes with German doner kebabs. But these things are actually interrelated because our whole capability of being able to promote the idea of SenseIt and SenseIt in order to get academic research to market, it's based on our foundation. It's actually based on the food sense foundation. So the boringness sometimes of talking about chili sauce testing is actually supporting something much more fundamental, which is how to make electrochemical sensors available and how to make them impactful so that they actually get out of the lab and onto the market. With that said, see, SenseIt is kind of this kind of arrogant name of SenseIt, but SenseIt at least means we can do chili and ginger. I know that's only two things, but one instrument, call it food sense, and it already does chili and ginger. And then actually it does chili, ginger, pH, and glucose. So in the food industry, you could super appreciate that people, chili growers want chili, ginger, people making ginger shot want ginger. Everyone in the food industry probably wants pH, not probably, does want pH. Glucose, people want to know what glucose is. And I realize actually that we've also got things like sodium as well, which we haven't entered. And sodium obviously is salt, and that would be super interesting for the food industry. So food sense becomes SenseIt. SenseIt becomes commercializing academic science. SenseIt already shows through its food sense application that it's actually multi-analyte already. And then that all comes to this point, which is at ZP, if somebody writes an academic paper and says, I used the screen printed electrodes and I made this measurement on it, we believe we can actually get those people to market in 2 years. Now, traditionally, that has actually taken 15 years, and you'll hear it through our webinars and through our blog posts and stuff. Most companies spend 15 years actually trying to get a product to market. And how many of them are successful at the end of that? 10%. So it's an absolutely broken system. So you do have to have technologies like Sense It All to actually get people to market. And when you look at the tech industry, you absolutely find that people build upon other people's platforms. So what's an example of that? Probably, I don't want to make up a ridiculous number, but a very good percentage of a lot of technology firms run on Amazon servers. So they don't go out there, buy a server, run that server, put their applications on top of that server. No, they're running on top of other people's services. So why are we not doing an analogous thing in the biosensor industry? Why? Because we haven't thought of it. And why? Because actually products like Sense It All didn't exist up until there was a ZP, and then until ZP reached its maturity that we were able to support people. This might make you smile, but Ed Curran has actually released a hot sauce. He's got one thing called Tingly Sauce, and I think he's got another one that's called Extra Tingly Sauce. Now, I didn't realize that he was a fan of hot sauces, and I didn't realize that he'd actually kind of branded some hot sauces himself. I know all of this because I've actually got some, and again, it's that slight apology, but we did actually test those hot sauces. The nice thing about the Food Sense Generation 4 is, running on top of our Sense It All platform is, you shouldn't be, it's a ridiculous statement, but when we measure his mild sauce, we get a score of about 600 Scoville heat units, so it is low. And then when we measured his Extra Tingly sauce, it came back at about 1,121 Scoville heat units. It was approximately twice as hot, which is interesting because actually they were using 2.5 times more chilies, but you didn't get 2.5 more times heat. But when you're processing chilies, I'm sure there's a breakdown in the capsaicin. But that said, we did. We had a little star in this week, which was Ed Sheeran, but not Ed Sheeran himself, but Ed Sheeran's tingly sauces, and we did actually test them. Now, every week we do a very technical webinar called the ZP Developer Zone, where we answer any technical questions that are coming during the week. We do have one slated for this week. It's on the 30th of May 2024, and any technical questions that come in during the week will definitely get answered during that webinar. So if you do have technical questions about screen printed electrodes, assay development, etc., then please sort of reach out to us. I put out a bit of a ridiculous post, not poster, but picture this week, because what I love about electrochemistry is it can be low cost, it certainly can be fast. So I'm certainly a person that's like, not always in a hurry, I want to say, but I certainly, I don't like to waste time. So electrochemistry is almost like the perfect science for us, because actually a lot of the assays we try to develop are over in 30 seconds. And I think that's it's an important design consideration, because 30 seconds feels a long time when you're actually waiting for something. That's why most glucose strips are actually 5 seconds, but they put a lot of effort into doing that 5 seconds. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I like electrochemistry because it's fast, but I also like electrochemistry because actually it can deal with complex samples. And so I put a picture up this week where we've been testing mayonnaise. Imagine how many analytical systems you could actually test mayonnaise. We've been testing honey. Imagine how many modes of test or analytical tests could actually deal with just honey. We've been testing pureed chili. Imagine how many analytical systems are out there that can test purees. It's ridiculous how robust the science this is. And it's fundamentally this, that a lot of analytical science relies on optical systems where you have a light source, you shine it through the sample, you have a receptor, and you pick up how much light is transmitted through that sample. Electrochemistry is not like that. It's a surface phenomena. So we're just measuring really a few micrometers above the surface of our electrodes. So our electrodes do not care how dirty, how bitty the samples are. So that's why electrochemistry is such a good science for actually doing rapid food tests, because food by nature is a kind of complex matrix full of strange bits and bobs, and electrochemistry doesn't care. It can deal with it with no problem. So we put a little sort of blog item there that said we test everything. I appreciate that's a hyperbole. It's like calling something Sense It All. But, that said, Sense It All is actually quite good at really testing everything. Now, something that's really exciting in the world that we're living in at the moment is the semiconductor industry has really woken up to the power of electrochemistry. I don't know why this is, but some of us, who work in this field, why? Why? Because of the merits of the science. And the merits of the science, I've already kind of mentioned it a little bit today anyway. The merits of electrochemistry, it can be very fast. Merits of electrochemistry, you can deal with complex samples. Merits of electrochemistry, the manufacturing technology that we use can be very low cost. Merits of the technology, electrochemistry is fundamentally low power. Merits of the chemistry, electrochemistry is a very pure way of going from chemistry to electrons. So we can go from essentially chemistry to semiconductor very quickly. And the semiconductor industry has kind of, I think, determined that actually this is one of the best sciences that they can become involved with. And they also see now that the other merit of electrochemistry is that small form factor. So they're very interested in doing distributed healthcare. It's kind of sort of an in joke in some ways, but if we're going to solve the health crisis that everyone sees, people say we need to do more remote continuous monitoring. And the electronics industry say yes. And what science can we use there? Electrochemistry. Is there any kind of business model that's been proven out that electrochemistry can help in patient remote monitoring? Yes, it's called CGM, continuous glucose monitoring. So we're going to do a webinar specifically for the semiconductor industry on the fusion between semiconductors and electrochemical biosensors. So if you listen to the blog, then you've got a sneak insight that will be coming on, and you can find a link to that on our blog page on the website. Just the last one, but it's a real joy to be running a interesting business like Zimmer and Peacock, because we do have some interesting inquiries sometimes. And so a group that's making synthetic muscle tissue is interested in using our electrodes for actually stimulating those muscle tissue. And as soon as they said it, I thought, yeah, of course, it's the right form factor. So the kind of, you can grow tissue several millimeters across. Our electrodes are several millimeters separated from each other. It's like the perfect platform really for doing stimulation of muscle tissue. So it's quite nice that, as a scientist, we can become quite myopic in the things that are mostly on our plate, but then somebody comes and contacts us with something that's new and interesting, and it certainly keeps the brain juices flowing, which is ironic because electrochemistry is also very interested in neuroscience as well. And as a side note, I did see that Elon Musk and Neuralink is I think they're going into their second patient. And you know what? I think electrochemistry's got a lot to play in the future of, I know it may sound a bit sort of Orwellian, but connecting people to the internet. There'll be certainly some ethical and dilemmas coming on that, but unfortunately the technology is coming, and I think we all have to sort of somewhat prepare for it, and electrochemistry will be part of that technology stack. So let me summarize and say I have to apologize for the amount of chili testing we talk about these days, but there's a reality that chili testing technology actually has enabled Sense It All. Sense It All has enabled us to actually take people much more rapidly from TRL 3 up to TRL 9. So from scientific papers actually onto the market. And then you do get these interesting questions coming in, where actually our electrodes can be used for something, brand new, which is like, muscle stimulation, which then made me remember that Elon Musk is pushing forward Neuralink. And I do think that there's a future for electrochemistry in that technology stack as well. If you have any questions of ZP, any comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Otherwise, I do wish you a good week and speak to some of you hopefully during the week. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.